Mexicana 726, 180, no gusto tráfico. Radar del Consorcio 03, tenemos un objeto no identificable bastante rápido aquí a la derecha, aproximadamente a 1 milla. No se ve nada en la pantalla, gracias. ¿Podríamos encender? Esta 203 a 8800. 8800, 203. Correcto, Mexicana 726, mantenga altitud.
Unknowns had penetrated the restricted airspace of commercial aircraft above Mexico City. Initial reports came from pilots. Then radar began confirming strange objects in the northeast quadrant near the airport. It's 9 p.m. The fourth wave has begun.
Buenas noches, señorita. Mira, a lo mejor le parece un poco rara mi llamada, pero yo vivo muy cerca del Hotel de México y de la azotea de mi casa, exactamente arriba del hotel, estoy viendo unas luces rarísimas. Yo creo que son ovnis.
Everything started at 9 o'clock, July 28, 1994. I was in a meeting, and I received a third call just after the second one, saying, Jaime, there is a UFO over the World Trade Center, and it's big, and it's moving a little. And then I said, this is important. And then I called the meeting, and I called the coordinator of the vigilantes and say to her, please call the tower of control in the airport and let them know that there is an object that is low in altitude, and they should take care of that. Did that, and at the same time I said, please tell the vigilantes in the area.
Los Vigilantes is a skywatch group formed years ago to document the numerous sightings over Mexico. They were quick to respond, locating, then filming this object. That same night, Aeromexico's Flight 129 was en route from the Guadalajara airport. Its destination, Mexico City. Flight 129 radios its position to Mexico City's control tower. The DC-9 is piloted by Captain Raimundo Cervantes Rano, a seasoned pilot. The time is 9:25 p.m. The bright object hovering above the city was videotaped by Victor Lopez Suarez. He felt compelled to film it, even though he had no idea what it might be. 9:55 p.m. Flight 129 is on the final leg of its approach. Unaware of the activity above the city, the landing gear is down. The crew and 109 passengers anticipate a smooth landing.
No está normal. No está normal, el avión está volando, tiene luces verdes, pendiente la ámbar, a ver si no fue una puerta. Bien, bajó todo en orden. Continúo con mi ILS. Avísale a la torre, por favor, que queremos hacer una... Torre, 139 conectados, pasar a través de la torre, ya que sentimos un impacto.
The unthinkable had happened. Flight 129 had collided with an unknown and was forced to make an emergency landing.
Everybody in the plane felt the impact. They thought they had hit helicopter or a little plane, but over downtown Mexico. That would be a big tragedy. I mean, it's not something they imagined. It's something happened. He had to make an emergency landing, and was that big.
Still shaken, Captain Rano reconstructs the fateful events of the night of July 28 over the heart of the world's largest city. He begins at the point of impact with the unidentified object.
My landing gear was in transit, barely down. Making my turn when I felt a very hard hit. At that moment, I didn't know what it was. I had never felt a heat as strong as this. Immediately, maintenance checked the airplane and found that the shock absorber was torn off.
Dejé el avión
tuve contacto por teléfono con...
After I landed the airplane, I contacted radar control, and they told me that at the moment I was making my turn, there were 2 UFOs. I probably crossed my path with theirs, and that's when I declared myself in emergency.
As the days passed, the crowded skies above Mexico seemed to become more and more dangerous. Once again, the ovnis were making their presence known in a very overt manner. But this was different. This time, the encounters were a little too close for comfort. On Thursday, August 4th, Captain Negri piloted Flight 479 and was forced to take evasive measures in order to avoid colliding with the UFO.
And they have 5 more reports. The last one was August the 8th, Flight 304, coming from Acapulco, commanded by Captain Fernando Mezquita and co-pilot Carlos Corso.
Y el este 5 derecho.
Es correcto, Aeroméxico 304. 304.
¡Aguas! ¡Cuidado! ¿Viste lo que pasó? Terminal México, Aeroméxico 304. Estamos a punto de colisión con un tráfico. A favor, informarme de los mismos.
Aeroméxico 304 no tiene ningún tráfico que le afecte, ni en pantalla tengo algún otro. Es usted la pista aeronave que nos informa de una casi colisión.
And this object was coming out of a cloud, a big silver object, metallic in shape, circular, and they saw it clearly. That was close. This object had to pass just under the plane. He had to make a difficult maneuver to be able to avoid the accident. Otherwise, we would have an accident downtown Mexico, you know, with a city so crowded, we would have many, many dead people. Let me tell you that the pilots in August the 8th, Corso and Mezquita were really mad with the people in the tower of control. They didn't tell them there was an object. They don't care if it was an identified or identified object. They didn't tell them, and they went to the tower very mad, and they told them, we don't know what is happening, you know, and that was the beginning, because that has continuously going on. Now, in the recent events, we know that sometimes the computers, the digital computers in the airplanes are turning down, are turning off when they are landing, and that's very scary.
Mm-hmm. What is the FAA, Mexico's version of the FAA? Have they made any comments to you?
I don't know. All that has happened, I gave 2 conferences to the pilots because they want to know what is going on. And for them, it's not something mythological, a legend, conspiration. They don't care about it. You know, it's affecting them. It's affecting security now. And that is what it really matters to them, to the controllers. Just imagine if they have an accident. What are they going to explain? Was an identified flying object that is not accepted officially? What the pilots are going to say to that? I mean, this is very serious. Someone has to take responsibility. I like to go to the Secretary of Communications.
Backed by the staunch support of the Pilots Association, crews of the commercial flights continue to file official reports detailing their visual contacts with the unidentified aerial craft. Their push for more information was contrasted by the employees of the Central Control Tower, who remained publicly quiet on the issue until August 1995, when 2 air traffic controllers agreed to be interviewed, providing their identities were protected to safeguard their position.
Enrique and I, we both are interested because we want to prove that it's happened. We want to prove that it's real. We want to prove, if we can say that the government knows that it's happening.
And in some way it could be dangerous for the aircrafts, of course. The safety aircrafts in his flying.
Last night, when Jaime called you, you said, just a minute, I have a blip on my screen.
Yeah.
Was that a UFO?
I suppose, because we don't have any registered about the other aircraft.
And this was about 9:30, 10 o'clock
Yes.
last night? Over Mexico City?
Over Mexico City.
It's amazing. When You were talking about the machinery going down. When you see a UFO on your screen, your equipment fails sometimes?
Sometimes objects follow them at the top, sometimes behind them, sometimes above them. See, that's funny. They interfere with the electronic instruments in the aircraft. See, first they thought there was these telephones, the Lambert telephones, that they were interfering with the signals, but no, it was somehow the energy of these objects interferes with the computers in the airplane.
Is that dangerous?
It's very dangerous. I think so. It's very dangerous. Somehow these objects change the information. They give wrong altitudes, and the pilots has to take the manual control of the aircraft. See, that's the important thing. They have to shoot off the automatic system because it's giving wrong directions, and he has to work it manually.
So it gives wrong altitude and
wrong direction.
How did the pilots respond to this when?
Well, they used to be very nervous, see, because they don't know what is happening, and it's the speed also increases. It's funny because, for instance, in the Boeing 747, we have the speeds registered at 500 knots, see, and it goes to 800, for instance. It's so fast. It's jumping from 500 to 800 to 900, and that's incorrect. That's not possible for an aircraft, a normal aircraft, to do that.
One of the most amazing sightings was documented on radar and videotape when a UFO flew piggyback above an airliner.
I personally saw something wrong around the aircraft. See, I asked terminal control to help me out if he can see that aircraft, especially in his screen, and if he was with another aircraft. See. And he told me, well, it seems that there is two aircraft, but you know there is just only one reported. We even talked with the engineers that were with these radars, and we've been asking them if they have noticed failures in the image we are receiving, and he says no. These echoes are real. Believe us, these echoes are real. They're moving, they are in there.
The controllers also reported that these aerial encounters often occurred 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes as often as 2 or 3 times a day. These reports have recently focused on an area around the city of Metepec, near the Toluca airport. It was here that a cluster of objects were not only tracked on radar, but also visually tracked by citizens and air traffic controllers, who reported that the unknowns appeared to land. But this sighting was only the prelude. The following morning, residual evidence was discovered in several fields in the form of apparent landing zones. Though these areas are far more primitive than England's spectacular crop circles, farmers were at a loss to explain them. Nor could they, or any biologist, explain what had happened to their crops. Overnight, the pumpkin plants had mutated. Although they continued to thrive, the plant's physical characteristics continued to change every 6 hours for a period of days. Some form of energy surrounds these unknowns. Whatever it is, it appears to cause malfunctions in airline computers and has the ability to alter physical structure of plants. Although no radiation was detected, one scientist speculated that an electromagnetic pulse might be responsible. Or perhaps It was the residue of some unknown technology. Both pilots and controllers marveled at the advanced technology of the unknowns. Some of the unidentifieds demonstrated an often reported pendulum effect. And the objects do appear to be of solid structured mass, capable of reflecting sunlight. In Mexico, they are fondly referred to as silver pearls. The aerial abilities of these sleek chariots seem to be intelligently guided. Sometimes the unknowns simply vanish. Quite often, in a single frame of video. For undefined reasons which might include something in their own agenda, or possibly to avoid an oncoming aircraft, or maybe hiding from the lens of the camcorder, they simply disappear. Onlookers have been dazzled by their breathtaking acceleration. Once again, in real time. The flaws are in the original video. Here, two unknowns are in a vertical climb. The object in the lower left accelerates and loops the other at an extraordinary rate of speed. Unaffected by air turbulence left in the wake of this maneuver, they are then followed by two more objects. Sometimes what appears to be a single UFO astonishes the witness by somehow dividing into two. How this physically occurs and why remains a mystery, but it does happen, as demonstrated in this remarkable segment. Jittery from the handheld camera, Mr. Giz videotaped one unknown as it divides and becomes two. Then three. Then four.
No, ya son más, ya son más.
And finally, five.
Son cinco ya.
Cinco. Son seis. Ya lo perdí.
Taken by a professional cameraman, this video also depicts the unusual multiplication of ovnis. Here, a singular object eventually becomes four. Enlargement and enhancement of this video provides a better view. Their technical capabilities remain unexplained, as does their interest in identified aircraft. During this Air Force exhibition, an unidentified object views the spectacle from an aerial perspective. interest in military exercises has been demonstrated before, during, or immediately after every Independence Day air parade since 1991.
Objeto plateado. Al sur, objeto plateado. Allá está.
In 1993, this silver sphere crossed the path of oncoming helicopters. The enlargement illustrates that this is clearly not a known aircraft.
Hacia arriba. No lo ves, pero ya lo ves.
On that same day in 1993, a policeman took this 35mm photograph. While these policemen were unaware they were being videotaped while an unknown hovered above. OVNI sightings have become routine for the citizens of Mexico. The objects seem intrigued by earthly transportation, crowded streets, and daily city life. Including the poorest barrios of Chihuahua. They seem curious about social events. Schools, students,
Hasta luego.
and even football games. Their curiosity is also directed into areas of communication systems, as they have been seen or videotaped near radio and television towers numerous times. In this segment, executives from Televisa watch from the roof of their building as an unknown approaches the transmission towers. Stations in Tepeji del Rio and Puebla reported unknowns in the near field of their massive antennas. One of the most dramatic events occurred at Super Channel 3's facilities in Puebla. During a live television broadcast on UFOs, the host of the program, Mr. Julian Abed, issued a challenge to the occupants of the unknowns.
As an UFO, if they have the technology to fly and to be here, they could see our program and they can understand what we are talking about. So we called if they were around, why they don't show for our program. So nothing happened. I said, well, thank you everybody to be with us. I invite you next week to the next program. And suddenly I listened through the earpiece. Please, Julian, stop, don't say goodbye because we have an UFO.
Challenge had been met. Not only did one UFO appear, but two.
A UFO. It was amazing. It was a very strange moment because we couldn't believe inside of us. And I was the man that was in front of the camera. My partners, my guests, they were all looking to the UFO, and the only one that didn't see it was me. When we went out of the station, it was a crowd of people of the city that left their homes and were looking at the UFO. They were participating of a kind of party. They were not scared. It was a party of the people. The children, even the dogs were with the families looking at the phenomenon at 3 o'clock in the morning. The most interesting thing is that it was not an edition, it was not a record, but it was the first time in the history, I understand, in the world, that we have the privilege to have in a broadcasting alive a UFO that is a testimony.
Had the unknowns actually monitored Julian's challenge? Or was their appearance the act of bizarre coincidence, or a strong case for synchronicity? The UFO's sense of timing was uncanny. The third wave had begun on New Year's Day, 1993. 5 hours of UFO activity over the Capitol had brought this bustling city to a complete standstill. 8 days after the New Year's Day flap, Lee Elders and Jaime Maussan recount the amazing events.
But I mean dozens, I received dozens of calls. But that was not all. All the newscasts, all the newspapers from Mexico, the offices received 100 to 200, 300 calls each from different people from many areas. Even the Army received more than 50 calls reporting the UFOs over different areas. I mean, if you know, and especially if you talk to people, you know that that was something else. Hundreds of thousands of people saw them. I don't know how many times in history a city has stopped because of sightings. In the streets, people in the roofs, everywhere. Everybody talking to each other, the telephone lines, everything.
The following day, I've seen the newspaper headlines, I've seen the photographs in the newspapers, the articles, people sitting on their cars, looking up, pointing. What was the reaction? Was there any reaction from the Mexican government? Has anybody...
Not at all. Well, the only thing we know is that 4 jets from the Air Force left their fields and went around Mexico City because they received, as I told you, around 50 reports from different areas, some of them very sensitive.
The sensitive areas referred to included electrical generating stations, oil storage depots, and thermonuclear plants.
Were the ships hovering over these facilities?
That's real.
So the Air Force has had no comment. The Mexican government has had no comment.
Absolutely.
Okay. Personal question. Why Mexico City, January 1st, 1993? What is your feeling as to why they...
Well, again, it's like in the eclipse. Why were they there when everybody was out? January the 1st is a holiday in Mexico. Nobody works.
July 11th, 1991 was not a holiday, but everyone in the country turned out to view the eclipse of the century. Thus began the first camcorder flap in history. And the first time ever that 4 UFOs were seen and recorded on video simultaneously over 4 different cities. Three ovnis seem to be of the same classification. A dramatic video from Tepeji del Rio dispels the possibility that the object might have been a star or a planet. In the first segment, the object is tightly grouped with 2 pinpoints of light, which are planets. However, seconds later, the unknown has changed position, while the 2 smaller objects have remained in the exact same position. Split screen allows a defined comparison of the changes in position. Thus began the first wave, an event that would shape the destiny of the people of Mexico. Ghostly night images over the Zona Volcanica ushered in the second wave and led the investigation to the base of the sleeping sentinel, Mount Popocatépetl, and the discovery that this once dormant giant was awakening. The air traffic controllers had been quietly tracking the unknowns through the Zona Volcanica. Within a 1-year span, OVNI activity dramatically increased, and so did the volcano's fury.
When the volcano shows activity, somehow we see more objects than usual. We may say that we see twice a week an activity, but there is something funny. Around Michoacan state, there are volcanoes also, and it's funny that traffic that travels from Guadalajara to Bajío, El Bajío airport, they cross this volcano area, and they have been report light activity in that zone. I work at nights, so I have control of this area, and the pilot report, I have a traffic in front of me, is too close, who is him? And I says, I don't have nothing registered in here. I've been asking them, give me the specifications of the aircraft. You're seeing the lights, the color of the lights, the size, something that can help me, so I can help you. See, that's what happens lately. We are excited now, or we're expecting something that's going to happen, because the Popocatépetl has increased in his activity every day, and actually right now the authorities are taking are preparing programs to put people away from the zone. They are moving people out of the volcano area because they know the volcano is increasing every day, little by little. There are earthquakes, small earthquakes, and the scientists of the University of Mexico, they saying that the activity is increasing every day. So they put an alert on the authorities, so they have to take conscience of that that they're expecting something happens, something real bad happens, you know, at the volcano area.
In December 1994, the inevitable happened. Mount Popocatépetl erupted with a vengeance. Frightened citizens ran for cover. Blanketed in ash, Puebla, the fourth largest city in Mexico, resembled a colorless wasteland frozen in time. By nightfall, the military had moved in to assist in the evacuation. Within hours, news agencies worldwide had covered the eruption of Mount Popocatépetl. However, all failed to mention the UFO activity that for 3 years had centered around this area and had originally brought attention to the awakening volcanoes. 80% of the sightings have been reported in the zona volcanica of central Mexico, from Colima to Veracruz. Although UFOs have been reported all across the central corridor, 3 areas were considered by both witnesses and air traffic controllers as hotspots of activity. All were in the zona volcanica. The first, Mexico City, a valley rimmed by volcanoes, has provided hundreds of UFO videos. The second hotspot, Metepec, sits at the foot of Mount Popocatépetl and is now inaccessible because of the eruptions. The third, and perhaps the most active area, is near Toluca. Some remarkable footage has been taken at this site, and ironically, it is also named Metepec. In August of 1995, on a cold and rainy night, a UFO stakeout was organized at Metepec 2. From the site of an old church located on a hill overlooking the Toluca Valley, across from the Ajusco volcano, nightly gatherings of UFO watchers are common. But this was unique. Air traffic controllers from the central tower of Mexico City stayed in constant contact by cellular phone, giving directional headings and alerting the investigators to positions of known aircraft.
It's very low. There's something flashing to the left. Can you zoom in on that? Let's fix
The Tower of Control confirmed a commercial aircraft in that specific location. A local policeman joined the group, sharing stories of recent sightings in the area.
There were many people calling to the police station that night asking about the noise this thing made. ¿Cómo era ese ruido? ¿Lo puedes describir?
Pues es como cuando una compresión, como cuando viene el juego mecánico que trabaja por medios de presión.
It's like a sound. A sound. Like an air in a pressure valve.
Como el ese martillo que le llaman. Bueno, que es una concha.
A circle with 2 conches and a light around. 6 months ago, a car and a person came to the top of this hill, and they told him that, yeah, they did exist in this area and they had seen it many times before.
You got a good zoom on that one. You should be able to reach out there.
Huddled against the cold, the investigators waited. Then above the horizon, a light appeared.
You see it?
Hay otro arriba. Red light. Nada más. I see it now.
Ahí estoy viendo uno.
Ajá. Ajá. Sí.
Simultaneously, the air traffic controllers reported an anomalous return on their radar. The sighting had been confirmed. This wasn't the first time the Central Control Tower had confirmed OVNI activity. On October 22, 1994, Los Vigilantes, an organized group of UFO watchers, were discussing the various types of ships being recorded and the new electronic equipment to be utilized on their next stakeout. Suddenly, the meeting was interrupted by a flight of UFOs. Present at the meeting was one of the air traffic controllers who quickly called the tower to verify the sighting. After providing the coordinates, estimated altitude, and speed, the control tower confirmed that radar had also registered the unidentified flying object. Even the erratic movement of the unknown had been registered in the radar's echoes. The flyby had left the vigilantes awestruck and inspired. However, the object that had originally stunned the nation has only been seen and videotaped once. Labeled the container, it appears to house 8 other objects, and it was accompanied by an armada of over 20 unknowns. Since 1992, 3 other clusters of UFOs have been videotaped in the skies over Mexico. This was taken by Mr. Cooper over Tampico. Tomas Islas taped this grouping over Mexico City. And the most dramatic of the 3 was also taken by Mr. Islas. The graceful movement of the fleet resembled an aerial ballet of 21 unknowns. But why so many? Could there be a reason behind the numbers, or the patterns, or the movement? The possibilities were being explored on computers when a startling segment of correlating footage surfaced from Korea. A professional cameraman had captured the birth of a cluster. Though often seen in daylight, there is something about nightfall that brings them in low and close. In May of 1994, a family filming near Ciudad Juarez took some of the most remarkable video to date. Filmed through a chain-link fence, diagonal lines are visible. Though the movement is erratic because of the handheld camcorder, a pulsating burst of light can be seen coming from the ship. enlargement and optical enhancement provide more detail. This new class of ship seems to embody the definition of the term flying saucer. Silver and glowing, this domed disc-shaped craft appears to be illuminated from within and overtly attracting attention. That same evening, Francesco Javier, also of Juarez, videotaped the flying saucer from a different perspective. And on April 26, 1995, the Juarez saucer made an appearance over Miami, Florida. Driving on the freeway, Giselle Rojas was focusing the camera on a blimp when a pulsating light from the illuminated ship caught her eye.
¿Quiere que vayamos hasta allá para que lo siga grabando?
Sí.
¿Sigo?
Sí. Coño, pero es que se pone borrosa la película.
Pero estás grabando la vaina.
Sí.
Porque no joda, ni que nadie me diga que esos no son los platillos voladores. Se va a tapar con el coño de madre, no bajen tanto. ¿Cuál estás grabando tú? ¿El de abajo o el de...?
Comparison analysis illustrates the remarkable similarities between these two events. These weren't the first sightings of the radiant saucer.
Shocking at UFO.
In 1993, it had been filmed gliding across the forested countryside near Stuttgart, Germany. Sightings of unidentified aerial objects are not limited to Mexico. The phenomena is global, and ovnis have been recorded on every continent by people from all walks of life. However, the unknown seem to have made Mexico their #1 priority. But why Mexico? Could it be the vast biodiversity of this large country? Perhaps the open-minded attitude of the public. Or perhaps it's the prophecy and the remnants of a great Mesoamerican civilization.
Jaime, 4 years ago, we met at my home in Arizona, and we interviewed you. And that was right in the beginning of this flap down here. Well, 4 years later, what have we learned about this?
Well, we have learned many things. They are preparing, probably that's the answer, Lee. They are preparing this country to become one of the first places to land in the land. Probably in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I think we are just grasping at the edge of this phenomenon. We have to be very patient. People like to have answers now. I don't think we have the answers yet. We have to start first accepting this is happening, accepting this is real, accepting this is possible, accepting that physically, scientifically, it's a reality. I think science should change. I think humankind should prepare for this. Then it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen just because we want to. You know, it's going to happen when they feel we are ready to accept. And probably that's the answer. And probably we are being tested in this country. This country seems to be friendly to them. And these sightings were related to the creation of that prophecy more than 1,000 years ago. That means that they are here again to prove that this was right, and we have to be really becoming a humble society and a humble human beings.
The Mayan prophecy discussed the death of the old, the birth of the new. The Aztec prophecy states that the old that's been buried will be reborn. It will come about. Is this happening in your country with the economics and the political situation?
Yeah, you know, in the Mayan prophecy they say death would be present, big catastrophes. The big lords would die to give life to the new lords. And at that moment, 1991, my country was in very good shape. It was very difficult to see that at that moment. But now, we had a war, we had assassinations, we have political crisis, economical crisis. You don't know how many people are committing suicide now because of that crisis. I don't know, it's happening. It seems that it's happening. I don't want to be, you know, exaggerated, but it seems that this prophecy is becoming a reality. We have to still be alert. I hope it's over. I hope the new light will come soon, because we need that in my country now. But it's true, the prophecy it seems to be becoming a reality.
So it didn't have to be a volcano exploding, although that happened.
Besides, we had it.
Yeah,
and
the earthquake.
And the Popocatépetl is still active. It would happen again. I mean, that's not over. We can have a new earthquake very soon. We don't know that now. I mean, it still is open. Yeah. That's the bad part of it. That's the bad part of this prophecy, especially because my country is so different 4 years later. Started this new era, and everything it was said then is becoming truth. You know the Mayan prophecy, but I'm going to tell you now the Aztec prophecy. The Aztec prophecy, because there is a prophecy from the Aztecs too. This is not so old, it's not 1,000, it's just 600 years old, but says that in the era of the sixth sun, everything that was buried would be discovered. That the fruit would be the seed of life, and will be the sons of the six sons, those who travel through the stars. That is something that is going to happen in the 600 next years, you know, in the next 600 years. That's why we have to be humble again.
So the truth is the seed of life.
Absolutely.
The reality of
And this is the truth of life. The truth of life is that they are here, and it's part of our future. Do we want it? We don't want it. We want something for the next generations. Are we going to change the meaning of money? Are we going to be willing to sacrifice? Are we going to take in consideration earth? I think that's all about.
Changing values.
Changing values, happiness, friendship, you know, the value of a sunset, of a sunrise. You know, to go to the beach, standing there, you know, watching the sea. I think this is the really meaning of life. And I hope through this investigation, we will be able to reach the American public and the world public with this very humble message.
The ovnis continue to make their presence known in the skies above the land of the Maya. On a clear evening in January 1996, numerous people in several states reported and videotaped massive formations of luminous objects gliding silently through the heavens. The ovnis continue to captivate the public, who wonder what these Voyagers will bring to the future. Will they continue on their own agenda, providing only a visual experience? Or perhaps the reasons are more profound and reside in the prophecy of the ancients. Or are they, as Jaime believes, preparing the public for more direct encounters?